focusing on the revelations made by a former Director General of the FIA, the Federal Investigation Agency in Pakistan. Now, this is the equivalent of, say, a CBI or a NIA in India, which probes terror cases. Now, the former Director General of this agency, who investigated the 26/11 attack himself, has accepted in a written editorial that the 26/11 attacks were planned, plotted, executed and monitored from Pakistani soil. He's left Islamabad stunned and red-faced.
The 26/11 attacks, masterminded and executed by Pakistani elements with active state support. An act Islamabad has steadfastly denied. But the denial was blown to shreds by a singular revelation. And that expose was none less by the ultimate insider. Tariq Khosa, former chief of Pakistan's Federal Investigation Agency, has now nailed Pakistan's complicity, admitting that the deadly strike was planned and launched from Pakistani soil. The explosive newspaper article by Tariq Khosa took away Pakistan's last fig leaf.
पाकिस्तान के अंदर जो ऐसा वर्ग है जो ऐसे हमले नहीं करना चाहता, वो और मजबूत हो।
मुंबई पुलिस ने पहले से ही इस बात के बहुत ही पुख्ता सबूत, बहुत ही ठोस सबूत जिस बात के लिए इकट्ठे किए थे कि उसमें पाकिस्तानी लोगों का उसके अंदर हाथ है।
Khosa even has some sane advice for the Pakistani state to own up the attacks and start a clean-up act to get rid of all terror elements harming even that country.
It is the judicial system of Pakistan that has the capability of expelling prime ministers from their office. So you have to trust Pakistani judicial system. You just cannot worry about any lousy Khosa or some Indian raw agents making statements after 10 years.
The big question is, will Pakistan finally see the writing on the wall and act before it's too late to save itself? With Hamza Amir in Islamabad, Gaurav Sawant, India Today.
The Director General of Pakistan's Federal Investigation Agency nailing the role of Pakistan in the 26/11 attacks. Will Pakistan's position change now? Brigadier Mahalingam is a leading strategic affairs expert. He's joining me in the studio. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Joining us also on this broadcast is Tariq Pirzada, and I want to go across first to Tariq Pirzada because you've been on this broadcast several times in the past and you've argued that there's no evidence of Pakistan being involved in any way in the 26/11 attack. Now, a Pakistani is nailing Pakistan's lie, and this is none less than the Director General of your most prominent investigation agency. What do you have to say, Mr. Pirzada?
Very clearly, the answer is very loud and clear. Number one, that the state of Pakistan, which you are implying is involved, is not involved at all, has not been, and this has been the position recognized by the United States and the whole world around the and everybody. Even the Indian government says, if you look carefully what they are saying, prosecute the people involved, not the state of Pakistan. So your point is being dismissed by the very fact that you are trying to push at the present time.
Tariq Pirzada says, Brigadier Mahalingam, that nothing has changed because there is nothing in this article written by Tariq Khosa which suggests that the Pakistani state is involved. He says,
no.
Where is the proof that ISI or the Pakistani army was
let's
involved?
look at what he says. First of all, he says these people were taken to Tata near Karachi and they were trained. Who trained them? Second, he brings out the point that the ammunition casings were there and the ammunition casings which were in Pakistan and recovered from Mumbai matched. Thirdly, he says that the room in which the entire operation was being conducted has been identified and isolated. So what is that which is not clear? Everything is clear. And also he brings out the fishing trawl was brought back, painted and presented. Therefore, if you look at it, he very categorically brings out the issues which very clearly prove that Pakistan is involved in
Now,
that.
it's very clear, Mr. Mahalingam is saying that you've got very clear evidence in what Khosa has said, which points to how Pakistan was specifically involved. Now, who in the Pakistan establishment, whether it was the army, the ISI, retired officers, we don't know that. But what is established now is that Pakistanis were involved. This was masterminded from Pakistani soil. That too you've been denying so far, Mr. Pirzada.
No, here is the answer. We have to prove it beyond the spectrum, beyond the iota of doubt, that the government of Pakistan or any private citizen of Pakistan has this conspiracy, provided legal support and logistics, and the article of Mr. Khosa does not say anything new. He simply
No, of course it says
that
several
this
things new. Let me read out what he's saying, and this is important because he says that the training camp was identified and secured by investigators, the investigators that he himself led. This is not a random analyst leveling this charge. This is the lead investigator himself. Brigadier Mahalingam, is Pirzada making a big mistake by trying to dismiss this as Indian propaganda? This, at the end of the day, is their own admission from their own officers.
It is the Pakistani admission. It is not only Pakistani admission. You are quite aware, Mr. Pirzada, the David Headley case has brought out any number of evidences. United States has brought a lot of evidences. These are quite clear. There is no question
if there
of
was some
propaganda.
evidence,
Why
Mr. Pirzada, allow me to moderate this debate. Mr. Pirzada, allow me to moderate this debate, and I want one speaker to speak at a time, because Khosa ends by saying, are we as a nation prepared to muster the courage to face uncomfortable truths and combat the demons of militancy that haunt our land? That's the question. That's the question Pakistan seems unprepared to answer.
If it exposes that somebody was involved, we would say that. Your problem is you want us to declare ourselves guilty without any judicial process, and that's the failure of Indian propaganda.
Let me tell you, whatever might happen, Pakistan will not accept this. Because for the simple fact,
because you are not provided any
let
evidence.
me tell you, Mr. Pirzada, just hold on for a minute. It is the ISI which did this, and the Lashkar-e-Toiba is an outfit which is the strategic asset of of Pakistan Army.
Look at the last 3 points that Khosa makes. He says the ops room, the operations room in Karachi, from where the operation was directed, was identified and secured by investigators. He says investigators have secured this ops room. He says communications over VoIP was unearthed. The alleged commander and his deputies identified and arrested.
He's a perfectly dishonest person if he did not act in a timely manner to make that disclosure. If I were an honest person, I would come out in the open and say,
is he telling you a lie? Please tell me that. If he is telling you a lie, why don't you arrest him and then ask him? Obviously, this man who has made these statements had sufficient proof to say what he has said.
Before I end this broadcast, the tonality from Pakistan is not changing. How does India use what Khosa is saying to try and build more pressure on Pakistan?
See, you are aware, 23rd and 24th of August, we are going to have a National Security Advisors meet.
Should that continue?
If you ask me really personally, I don't want this to continue because
why not?
There is no aim. What will you try to tell them? Will Pakistan's National Security Advisor accept the fact? It is not going to happen. So as far as I am concerned, if you ask me, I will say India needs to develop its own capacity to deal with this particular menace on its own directly. This sort of a thing, hoping that some other country is going to do, will not work. Because, as you are aware, none of the countries, ever since our independence, has done anything to come and support us when there is falsehood being said again and again.
I think you make some important points, that Pakistan has been in denial, remains in denial, and that shan't change. India needs to determine how it will tackle the menace of terrorism emerging from Pakistani soil. And the Director General, who's looked at investigations closely, can claim what he will, it will still be called Indian propaganda by people in Pakistan. Brigadier Mahalingam, thank you very much for joining us. And the top veteran there saying that think about why these NSAs are meeting and will anything at all be achieved during this dialogue. Remember, Prime Minister Modi cancelled dialogue with Pakistan because the Pakistani High Commissioner met with Hurriyat leaders. What's happened in Gurdaspur and thereafter is far more serious, and yet we want to continue with this Aman Ki Asha. Let's see what comes out of it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you
for joining us on the newsroom. Thank you.